90% of agents don't know what they're doing, don't know how to talk to people, don't know how to communicate.
Don't pick up the phone.
Don't pick up the phone. Don't call you back. So I'm so happy this happened.
Overpromise, underdeliver.
Overpromise, dude. The list goes on. Go into ChatGPT and it won't stop going. Like for real.
That's like the shout outs on this episode. The shout outs for this thing is going to be.
So anyway, I'm like, just even in my 3 years, I couldn't imagine being in for as long as you have, just dealing with the commercial, especially. So personally, I'm like, it's kicking a lot of people out of this business.
Yeah.
In 3 to 5 years, I think things are going to pick up business as usual, but we're going to have a higher standard now. We're going to be looked at as professionals, like accountants, like attorneys, and, start finally making the money we deserve. And I think there's going to be less of us. So it'll be, you know what I mean? Just more professional. Quality will rise, quantity will drop, and it's already happening.
Welcome to the podcast dedicated to real estate, insurance, and building your business. Join us as we take you along our own business building journeys with additional wisdom from our network of local and national experts. Welcome to Bricks and Risk. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bricks and Risk. I'm Tim Garrity.
And I'm Sean Mooney.
Today, Sean, we have our first duo guests. We got 4 of us at the round table today.
It's a first.
We have Nick Giganti and Martino Picariello.
Perfect.
Nick Giganti is the president of Hunter's Commercial Real Estate, and Martino is an investment and development specialist. How you doing today, guys?
Doing great.
Fantastic.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thanks for being here. So let's talk a little bit about them and their business. So Hunter's Commercial specializes in transactional and consulting services for property owners in Philadelphia and its surrounding areas. It's led by President Nick Giganti, who boasts over a decade of experience collaborating with both local and national real estate investors and developers. And they pride themselves on comprehensive market knowledge, unwavering work ethic, and extensive client database. Hunter Commercial's commitment to prioritizing their clients' interests above all else has been integral to their continued success. When someone chooses to list their property with Hunter's Commercial, rest assured they will receive unparalleled service tailored to help them achieve their goals. All right, so you guys both started out with a focus on residential real estate, aka realtors, just like me.
Yeah.
And now have a focus on commercial real estate. So that was like a pretty cool pivot. Like, how'd that come to be? Why did you guys shift?
Yeah, and I could kind of give you a little bit of a background. So it first started, and I'm going to kind of go back to go forward.
Yeah. Way back.
Yeah, way back. So when I first got into real estate, I was living in the Point Breeze area.
Yep.
I was way ahead of the curve. I was kind of like a pioneer down there.
What year was this?
I bought my first house, and it was my first house, and I moved down there in 2009.
Oh yeah.
So it was like
early.
Yeah.
So
he was down there, building.
All the listeners, so they know, what was the purchase price in 2009 in Point Breeze?
Yeah. So I bought a 2-story townhome that was totally renovated.
Okay.
And I overpaid. And I bought it for $170,000.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
you
finished
could get
basement.
You could get sub $100,000 for like a decent home that just needed like a little bit of work back then.
Oh yeah,
there was insane.
Yeah, there were shells. I remember looking at shells on like Manton Street that were overpriced at $30,000. It's like I'm not buying that.
Never.
Who
would do that?
Yeah, that's way overpriced.
Well, do you remember Charles Dalen, a good friend of the show?
Chuck D, what's up, man?
He bought on Memphis Street in what, like 04, 05 maybe?
It might have been like 03, 04.
I don't think he paid $40,000.
I know.
I think it was like 30.
Fishtown was the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
When Philly was a deal and a half.
Yeah. So get into real estate, start doing deals, the regular bullshit, working with homeowners and buyers, just doing like the regular stuff.
Yep.
And what started to happen was I'm looking around Point Breeze, I'm seeing all these lots, and it's like, who owns this? Who owns that? And basically what I started to do was just researching every lot.
Public record, and
every lot.
LLC searches.
Exactly.
All
and
this
just
stuff.
Databasing everything. That was like the one thing, and that was one thing I mentored, Martino about getting into, is just database. Your CRM is like your book. That's your book.
Right.
So I was almost like a stockbroker in essence, because then I started talking to guys that were building, and I'm like, can I sell your property? No, I got a guy who got it for me. I got to let him sell it.
You're like, I'll wait until he screws up, and then I'll take it on myself.
I'm like, I'm just going to be,
here's my number.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
just
I'm thinking,
chirp in his ear. He's going to go to me anyway, you know?
But like, to take it a step further, where my brain goes with this is like, you talk to him, he says no. And you're saying to yourself, the next question I'm following up with is like, oh, well, did you know about that vacant lot over here on this street?
Yeah. Well, typically, I'm not even going to tell him that because then I don't know this guy. He can go around. But right off the bat, it's like, all right, well, what are you looking for?
Exactly.
Do you have anything else you want to sell?
Yeah.
And you just go down the line of questions. Listen, once I sell this, I mean, I want to buy, this is what I build. So this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's lead gen. You're building up your database.
Dude, just door knocked. That's all I did.
Phenomenal,
door knocked,
man.
and just take down numbers. So then when I got the lot, you know what I mean? Or that open piece of ground, then it was boom, pick up the phone, just start calling.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John, you want this lot? No. Boom. Next person. And just started putting the, you know, the pieces together. So that was kind of like how I built the business. And then, you know, obviously the business grew. I started a team. But we always kind of were like that resi-mercial. We were always looking for like land acquisition, multifamily.
Because investors will do both. They'll do a single family new build, like 5 in a row or 1. They'll do rehabs. They're like, nah, if you buy this, you could do mixed use. You could do 10 units.
Correct.
You could do 50 units in this factory. Like it all ties into the people with money who want to put money in real estate.
Correct. And then once you start to understand construction numbers and the zoning code, then you could start to like, all right, this makes sense if it's at this price and blah, 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 and you're underwriting it. So we always kind of had a background for that. And then fast forward, it was about 2 years ago, Jim Roach, an agent that, you know.
You guys started together. You knew him. How long?
Yeah.
Did you know
Jim and I were at Coldwell.
Yeah. Yep.
Back in the day.
You know Jim.
Yeah. And Jim actually got in a little after me. And I actually mentored Jim as he got into the business.
Nice.
And I will say, Jim was really great on just investing his money back into the business of being, you know, scaling it.
Yeah.
On my end, I was more like make money, and I like investing in real estate. That's my passion. So his team started to really grow. Yep. And you know, we started, and I didn't really have this want to grow this massive team, right?
Yeah, right.
But it just, you know, Jim was a friend of mine. We always hung out, and it was just like a late night beer. We just, you know, I had a discussion. He's like, dude, I need like other senior leadership to kind of help me with what's going on. Cause like
I can't do it myself.
I can't do it myself. So we kind of came to an agreement, merged our teams. That was in January of 2023.
Nice.
And then, from there, it was like, I built this brand of hunters. It's like, you know, that was like 7 years in the making. Right. Jim had his brand. It's like, why are we going to just throw this away, basically? And the fact is, we're doing so many commercial deals that we have the credentials at this point to say that we're, you know, an actual commercial team. You know what I mean?
So just so I'm clear, so Jim focused a little bit more on like the residential clients, people buying homes, selling homes, maybe building 5 or 10. And then you, because you started out grinding and hustling in your neighborhood, finding lots, finding a building, finding a big lot where someone could build something beyond residential, like that's how you built your business. And when you started working together, like, well, it's kind of like 2 businesses, even though we're partners.
Correct. And I wouldn't say that. Jim basically had a very similar
so he was
game plan. He was doing the
thing.
same thing. It's like controlling the deal from the beginning to the end. That's what we were both doing very well. But then once we combined our teams, it was like, well, we're doing a lot of commercial to the point where we should have basically a division for this. You know what I mean? So, and essentially creating 2 businesses under one.
Wow.
So, or another.
Well, it's one with 2 specialties, really.
Yeah, specialties. Yeah. Correct. It's like, let's specialize in this, because let's face it, there's a lot of commercial people that own commercial buildings, and ultimately a lot of times they want to work with people that are solely doing commercial.
Right.
So it's like, that's what our division is starting to focus on. That's what it is, what we focus on now. It's kind of like niching ourselves into that segment of the market.
So if a lead comes in, it's commercial, it goes here. If a lead comes in, it's residential, it goes
But
there.
then you're still tied together on the back end.
Correct. So,
Awesome.
and we are underneath the Rarity umbrella that kind of fuels us. They do all of our marketing.
Parent company, and then it's got a couple little subsidiaries underneath.
Correct. And we're basically division, subsidiary, that sort of thing. But it's been honestly awesome right now. It's been great. I mean, the market could be better. Let's face it.
Sure.
I mean, commercial is definitely going through like an anemic point in time.
The financing
right now.
is tough.
The financing's tough. It's like, you know, we got banged with a bunch of different factors. It was like higher interest rates, higher construction costs,
right? Tighter guidelines now.
Tighter, yeah. Like the regulations don't ever pull back. You know what I mean? Cost of just the construction materials jacked up. You know, it was inflation. So we're kind of like running through all these things, these like hurdles. But what we're finding is that, you know, just the way we kind of go about business, we're very, you know, and Martino can speak a little bit more about that, but it's really just like focusing on the client, very client facing. We're ready to work. We do a lot of grinding. You know, there's a lot of these agents that have been in the business, especially I feel like in the commercial side of things where they've gotten comfortable. Yeah. These guys,
they want a listing. They want to put their legs up, that kind of thing.
There's guys out there that I'll call the listing and make pretend I'm a buyer just so that they just fucking answer the phone and they don't even call you back. And I'm like, what is this owner
it's a
paying
different
this
world,
guy?
you know? And you're cut from the residential cloth, which is cool because I feel like we come from more of a cooperative business model. Like residential real estate, it's got good paperwork. It did have a very formalized cooperative model. It's starting to break apart from that a little bit. It's actually starting to go a little bit the way of commercial.
Yeah, commercial's always been like
a little bit more Wild West. Everyone's like looking out for themselves. But our mentality being realtors, being in residential real estate was like, get to know the other agents, like build rapport, customer service, dot I's, cross T's, like pick up your phone, return messages.
Wow. Crazy, right?
Not
Crazy.
in a week.
Novel idea.
Well, I was going to, all right. So how'd you guys meet? Like Martina, how'd you meet Nick?
So I'm at a golf outing at the Philmont Country Club. It was a top producers event run by John Butchner. Shout out John, great guy.
Yeah.
Wolf of Broad Street.
Yeah.
And
What's up, Josh?
What's up, man? I meet Joe Cleary, awesome agent, amazing mentor to me as well. I really wouldn't be where I am today without Joe Cleary. So shout out to Joe.
Shout out, Joe.
Shout out South Philly Joe.
Joe goes, yeah, I'm on this team. Throws me his card. Where are you at? Just like that.
Yeah. Where are you at?
Like
that sounds about right.
Where are you at? I'm like, and I'll be very
must
open.
live on 2 Street.
Exactly. He's a Gerard Estates guy. But
nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Got it.
Well, he's gotten to Gerard Estates.
I don't know where he started.
He's graduated.
His way up to those twin homes.
Yeah.
Correct. And he does have a twin home with parking.
Beautiful. I love it.
Beautiful home. But anyway, Joe connects me with Nick at that event. I was with Maxwell Realty at the time, 18th and Pine Street.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Correct. Yep. Very old school brokerage, you know.
Shout out to Nancy.
Nope.
No,
no, not sorry.
Makes sense.
You know why.
Yeah.
So I'm just not, I mean, trust me, I wanted to be, so it's funny. My uncle's in real estate, connected me with her. My dad owned real estate and, you know, I'm just kind of family business.
You feel your way through. That's how we figure this out. You know?
And he had trust in her, my uncle. So I was like, I'm going to put my faith in her. I did.
Nice.
And, you know, of course you learn quickly that he had 10 other agents he was working with throughout his career. This was just one of them.
Right.
You know, literally could have connected me.
You got to find the right
anybody.
fit.
It was great. Honestly, it was the best experience I could have got because I realized what, you know, the other side looks like.
Yep.
So I was very fortunate. We're at this golf outing. Joe introduces me to Nick on the 11th hole. We're doing tequila shots with Green Tree Mortgage. And Nick goes, yeah, man.
Sounds about right. That sounds like a real estate event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's if you're ever wondering how real estate events go with shots and mortgage, it's mortgage lenders buying
how do we turn it?
Yeah. And title companies.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. We actually have one this afternoon, but that's a whole different thing. Not golf outing, but we're going on a boat. Shout out Mike Reverso, Moving Mortgage, having us out. And anyway, I meet him on the hole. He's like, dude, let's just link up for lunch. Got lunch about 2-3 weeks later. Really told me, he's like, dude, we have a lot of leads coming in. Our business is at a point where we know we need guys like yourself, you know, like-minded individuals like you in. And I was like, give me a little more time. He gave me like 4 more months to realize it wasn't the right fit. got lunch again. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. This is the time. So, I mean, honestly, when he told me pretty much everything he just spoke about in the first 10 minutes, I was hooked. I wanted to build a business where I was brokering deals. I wanted to build a business where I was really just changing neighborhoods and making a greater impact than just serving one family, So mentored by him and Joe for the first, I guess, year and a half. And then we merged in with the Jim Roach real estate team, became Rarity and Hunters. And it's just been an absolute ride since. And
how long have you guys been working together?
2.5, 3 years?
2.5, 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, but we had a lot of commonalities. So I think we all know that, people watching, if you ever just got into business with someone, you just know that feeling. And I had that. So lucky to have that right away. And if I didn't get that through Nick, who knows where I'd be today.
Right.
Truly.
It's like when you start a podcast, you kind of know right away.
Chapters.
We knew. We just knew.
Yep.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's how we connected.
So
yeah,
awesome.
All right. So I got a question for you, Nick.
Yeah.
So I find it very admirable that you're like, all right, I'm investing in this neighborhood that technically not a lot of people are doing right now. So you saw it. You saw that it was located very strategically, like undergraduate hospital, close to the subway. It's row housing. This is how Philadelphia is built. And I used to call them like the missing teeth blocks. Like you go to a block, there'd be like 3 houses and then 1 missing and then 1 house and 6 missing. And then you would just find that. So you saw that, but what was it about the door knocking and the data? Is there like something from like growing up and working, or are you just like, you're just competitive? Like, what is it that got you like off your couch to be like, this is the way I want to build my book of business, as you said?
Yeah. So, no, it wasn't anything, I grew up in a very blue collar family. My father was a union electrician. My mother was a nurse.
My mom was a nurse too.
Oh, there you go. Nice. But yeah, very blue collar. I worked corporate America until I got into real estate when I was 27. I absolutely hated it. I really did. It was a lot of like behind the screen type work that, I was like, I can't do this. But what really fueled me was like, if I don't pay my mortgage, I'm losing my house.
Right.
Like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and no
that's
one's
the
coming
reality.
and no one's coming to
If
save
I
me.
don't get some deals, I'm not eating.
Correct.
I don't live here anymore.
Yep. But I always had like, some business acumen. Even when I was younger, they would have the yard sales. I would have a whole bake sale. I would, a couple nights before be baking cookies. I'd have a whole refreshment stand.
Love it. What was it called?
It was just a refreshment stand.
Nick's
I think it was like
cookies,
Nick's
snacks.
Yeah.
Nick's snacks.
Do you know what the original name of our podcast was going to be?
What?
Oh, here we go.
The Tim and Sean Show.
Yeah.
That was your other idea. So he was the bricks and risk genius, and that was the first thing that came out of his mouth. I was like, that's it. He's like, no. Like, what about? And then I'm like, what about brokers building businesses? Like, I was way more logical.
You're like, no,
bricks and risk. I was like, dude, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
It
Does have a nice. Yeah, it's got a nice.
Keep it simple is always the motto with any titles. Keep it as simple as you can.
Yeah.
Totally.
Simple. That's why I do appreciate just the show with, the names. Simple, but it's also not scalable. I feel like, you're not going to reach everybody. Who is these guys? I don't know who these guys are.
All right, so baking cookies.
Yeah, so I always had like, then in college, it was like, in college, me and my buddy were, we would throw parties in Manhattan. We would rent out lofts, and then we had people.
Oh, so like legit
parties, And we did that for years, and that was very lucrative. We would like basically set it up, get the DJs, get everybody,
and you get
rent
to go
the
party
space,
for free.
and then we would party with these people. It was awesome.
That's like Kyle Kelly printing T-shirts in college.
It's true. You guys know Kyle Kelly.
I printed T-shirts, sold those. I lifeguarded on Coney Island, so every year we would make our T-shirts, and then I'd sell them. We'd also, I could go into it.
Total hustler, man.
Hustler.
Yeah. Entrepreneur.
Literally.
How can I work hard, make money, control my destiny?
I think that is one thing that I will say, especially growing up in Brooklyn, New York. It's like you're born to, like, you see what wealth gets you, because there are a lot of rich people, but like everybody's on their hustle, man. It's like, how can I make
it's a
money?
cutthroat city. It's probably the most competitive city in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, be honest.
Absolutely.
Yep. And that's really what fueled it. It was just like, all I got to do is like basically figure out who are the buyers, figure out
how to make the product, how to service the client,
how
whatever
to get
you're
the
doing.
product, and then make the connection.
Build the Rolodex.
build a
And just work
Rolodex
it.
and then just work it and then
Nice.
put my percent in the middle.
That's
and
cool.
a lot of them weren't even listings. It was just
Yeah.
brokering deals.
I
You know
love
what
it.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that was the one thing that I will say, like I taught a lot of agents, because agents, I can't tell you how many of these young agents would do stuff for free.
Yeah.
And it would be like, listen, man, like
Your time is worth
your
something.
time's worth, like, don't be uncomfortable talking to someone and saying,
Right.
listen, here's a deal. I got to get 2.5% on this. I'm just letting you know, this guy's not paying me anything. And they're fine for doing that because
You
they know
want
they're
the
going to
deal?
make, you're bringing the deal
Exactly.
and they're making money. They want you to make money.
Commercial
But
again
they-
harder. Now we're getting back. Now we're getting to that.
Yeah.
But they also want the next deal. That's how their mind
Exactly.
thinks,
If you're
right?
not
So like you gotta
Relationships.
pay, right, to be in the game, because now you become a call on the Rolodex for the next one, right?
Yep.
You need to create that scarcity with your clients. You
Yeah.
need to create. I didn't create that at first, and Nick will tell you firsthand. I was really just trying to build a book of business based on good reviews, and good service. If I can have people word of mouth tell people about
build
me,
that credibility.
it's all I need. So I wasn't worried about the money. I was like, let me just get some deals under my belt, and I know a lot of agents that are doing that. If you're watching, stop.
Yeah.
Like seriously, start putting your values first, because you're going to get in a very bad habit of that as time goes along. And I always had a servant mentality. Honestly, I never really thought I was an entrepreneur. Honest to God, always
Yeah.
like
Service
a
to others,
server,
kind of.
exactly. How can I make the business work better? How can I be a team player? That's how
Yep.
I've always been. Not like I want to be the entrepreneur and direct people. So this has been a very interesting 3-4 years for me. And I love that I got into this business because it's taught me so much about the other side of the world. You can't just serve others. You need to really serve yourself and make sure you're taking care of number one.
Yeah.
Or else you're not good enough to take care of the ones you love. You're
Yeah.
not, period.
It's true.
Yeah.
So
It's
learning a lot.
it's so interesting. So I love this residential commercial. I mean, I know it's not your world. But
What'd you call it?
Resi-mercial.
Resi-mercial.
Yeah.
I know, but
Trademark that.
you've heard enough about real estate now just through this podcast that you might as well be licensed at this point.
Yeah, might as well.
You know,
Yeah.
just get out there and start showing houses.
No,
I'll buy from you.
to their point, one of my mentors, Dave Nunes, back in the day, he always used to say, "It's not a hobby." Would always say that, like drill it into my head, like it's your time.
Yeah.
Doctor goes in to have surgery for an hour, he's getting paid for that hour. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of no different. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that we're going into this
Right.
whole market with the changes, you really do have to be like
Yeah,
and
I
know,
mean,
know what your value is.
Yeah. Exactly.
You brought up a really good point, which was like, teaching Martino, it's like, hey, like that's your right to ask for that commission. And for whatever reason, they don't want to do it, or they want to, take you down to like the bottom of the ninth, and then they try and pull it out from under you. Like
That's
you can't be accepting of that. You may have to take a hit every now and again.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked 2.5 up front. They bump their head a couple times along the way. You get to them, they're like, why don't we do like 2? And you're kind of like, Jesus Christ. But then you're like, look, I want to make good on this relationship.
Exactly.
They want to see how committed I am. So maybe I got to make a little less to prove. All right, I'll do it for 2, but on the next one, we're doing 2.5.
Yeah.
And then having that approach lets people know you're serious. And if they say, no, we're not doing 2.5 next time, be like, cool, we'll do this one, and I'll see you later, pal.
Exactly.
Like we're not
Scarcity.
going to work together.
You cannot keep chasing business. You got to know your
Yep.
value and create a scarcity kind of mindset. Like, all right, this guy's time is very rare. Let's get him while he's here in front of
Right.
me. Yeah, I love that.
All right, so here's a good shift, because you brought something up about,
Yeah.
you're starting on residential real estate.
Yep.
Most of the commissions were out there. They're on the MLS. You bring a buyer, it's 2.5%, 3% on average is what you see in Philadelphia. Then you start shifting into the off-market commercial world, where if you got the deal, you got the inventory, you're controlling a little bit better. Sometimes if you got the commercial deal and someone else brings a buyer, you're like, I'm not paying you. Like, get your client to pay you
Yeah.
by my deal. So commercial, it's been very common forever to do business that way. Residential has always been a little bit more structured, mostly because of the National Association of Realtors, the local MLS. It just had guidelines. It was good structure, but now that structure is going away.
Mhm.
So knowing that you start out as a realtor and you're more focused on commercial now, like what can you give to like realtors out there to let them know like what you've dealt with to deal with
Yeah.
the way it's going to be?
And that's a good point, because I think that is the most critical thing that we're doing that differentiates ourselves from some of these other commercial brokers. The reason why these guys aren't picking up their phone, the people that we talked about, is because they want to double pop everything.
Exactly.
They want to.
They don't want to cooperate.
They don't want to cooperate. We're totally fine. I'd rather cooperate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
separate it.
if I don't have a buyer,
Right.
like share the love. Like we are not that type of team. You know what I mean? My reputation with other brokers in the city has always been great. I like working with other people. So that being said, typically it just comes down to the net to the seller. So if somebody is at, a certain price, there might not be any commission in there.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing left. But we'll be transparent about that. Majority of the listings that we're getting, we have co-op broker fees broken out into the,
You want that demand. You want that demand. You want those agents with those buyers.
Actually, just to that point, I'm currently in talks with the seller right now, and he's really pushing back on just even 2% for a buyer's comp that we can advertise. And I'm not taking the listing unless we have something. And I told him that point blank, just for that reason alone. We want to collaborate and speed this process up, and also keep it very ethic. A lot of times when you're in the middle, you're going to do a disservice to one of the people on the deal. The seller's either going to get less than and you don't want to be that guy. Keep it separate, keep it clean. And
but if there's more offers too, like it's not just a one-sided thing where you're like, oh, I'm going to make less money on this deal if I do this, right? That may be true if there was one buyer here and one buyer there. You open it up and now you have 10 people that want in on this. It's going to more than, make up for what you're
1,000%.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's why it's kind of unfortunate that this whole thing kind of came out with NAR, because when you look at it, it was like the attorneys they're going to make like $650 million.
It's a control thing.
And then what do the plaintiffs actually make? I think I'm hearing like $10 a household. It's like, it's
sounds about right.
It sounds about right. But at the end of the day, the system worked, and there might have been other reasons why, that the lawsuit went through, but the system worked. I mean, you're as a seller, you're compensating somebody to bring you an offer.
Right.
And in the residential side of the world, now I talk to sellers, should I not pay? I heard about this new rule where I don't have to pay the buyer's broker.
Right.
If the buyer's got to come out of pocket, they got to come out of pocket in cash.
You're just squeezing the amount of people that would even want to look at this, because who's really qualified to do that?
Yeah. Now they have to come down with their down payment. Now they have to come out of their pocket with hard cash to pay their agent. At the end of the day, I just tell people, it's like if Mercedes-Benz made you put up the whole $120,000 when you went to the dealership, how many Mercedes-Benz would they be selling? But everybody finances it. Basically, the rules of you paying the buyer's agent as the seller allows the buyer to amortize that commission over 30 years.
And
in
that's
essence, you'll probably get a higher price. By you saying, no, I don't want to pay, they're just going to literally lop that off the top.
Totally.
So it's like, if people just looked at it that way, that's
be much easier.
It'd be much easier. The process worked. The system worked.
Yeah, and I'm relatively new. This is my 4th year I'm going into, right? Like,
you're a young bull.
I'm a young bull. There is some bad agents out there though, man. Like 90% of agents don't know what they're doing, don't know how to talk to people, don't know how to communicate.
Don't pick up the phone.
Don't pick up the phone. Don't call you back. So I'm so happy this happened.
Overpromise, underdeliver.
Overpromise, dude. The list goes on. Go into ChatGPT and it won't stop going. Like for real.
That's like the shout outs on this episode. The shout outs for this thing is going to
be.
So anyway, I'm like, just even in my 3 years, I couldn't imagine being in for as long as you have, just dealing with the commercial, especially. So personally, I'm like, it's kicking a lot of people out of this business. So in 3 to 5 years, I think things are going to pick up business as usual, but we're going to have a higher standard now. We're going to be looked at as professionals, like accountants, like attorneys, and, start finally making the money we deserve. And I think there's gonna be less of us. So it'll be, you know what I mean? Just more professional. Quality will rise, quantity will drop, and it's already happening.
Totally. Like, here's the example that I've always made is, there's over technically 1.5 million realtors right now nationwide. Okay. Like when we first got in the business, I got in 2010. What year did you start?
2011.
All right. So you're 2011. So in 2008, when things were crashing, there was somewhere like 1.2, 1.3 million realtors nationwide. Okay. 2012 went down to 800. Okay. So it thinned out by a ton.
Like 40%.
Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
then what happened? The market took off. So the amount of people with the low barrier of entry to get into real estate took off. Yeah. And all these brokerages are growing and these new brokerages are showing up. And we got all these growth. Yeah. We're in a spot right now with not only that, real estate in general is a little tight right now. Like the city, residential in the city is a little bit tighter than residential in, like, let's say the inner suburbs where there's not enough supply and there's just crazy demand. And there's places in the city where there's months and months of inventory and there's just not enough demand. So it all depends.
Yeah.
But honestly, we're getting to a point now where the people who got in for the wrong reasons, like let's say, unfortunately, was on a dream. Hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do well. And they just either didn't have what it took or didn't get the right advice to do that, are unfortunately going to get out. And the example I've made, which brought me to this point, is like, you know, one of our like good friends or past clients. It's like, look, you don't have to use your cousin Tommy anymore because cousin Tommy had his license. Cousin Tommy's gone. And I'm right here now. So you don't have two choices anymore. You got one, and it's right. And I've been doing this for 15 years. You know, you've been doing it for almost just as long.
How do you categorize that person in the CRM? Is it like Tommy, no more relatives?
It's cousin Tommy, not
hit that list.
Not gonna make it.
Not gonna
work here anymore. That was what it was.
So you just do a reminder, send them a card.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's just send
And
them a
again,
card.
like I don't want to say that to be rude. I don't want to say, hey, like you didn't have what it took. It's just you got in for the wrong reasons. It didn't work for you. Like I think the high majority of people want structure. They want to work for someone else. They want to be told what to do. And that is what the high majority of people want to do. They want to work. Tell me what to do. I'll work my butt off. You know, I'll rise in the ranks. I'll have a 401k. I'll be done when I'm 60, and then I can play golf for like 15 years. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Sounds pretty good.
It sounds like a great life. You know, I have my family or I got my weekends off. Like everyone's cool. But then there's people like the 4 people here at this table who say like, yeah, like that's nice, but isn't there like something else or isn't there something different
More?
That if I just put in that same level of work and passion and know that most people can't do it, like I can have everything I want. Like I can have flexibility in my family life, kind of.
Yeah.
I can have sky's the limit income. You know, I can invest in stuff. Like I can work on a Saturday, but I can take Thursday and Friday off. Like we can wake up when we want. We can do what we want. But we know the focus is you got to show up every day. And if you don't show up every day, you're going to lose market share.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between, I think, like an entrepreneur and just someone who wants a gig. Hey, everyone. This is Tim, your favorite Bricks and Risk co-host. But don't tell Sean. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'll get right back to it in a moment. Our audience grows through word of mouth. So if you would please take a moment of your time and give us a review on the platform you're on, that would be fantastic. Please also help spread the B&R word by sharing your favorite episode with a friend. We greatly appreciate your time and trust. Now, back to the show. All right, so we're talking about like real estate investing. So I believe, do both of you guys invest yourself? I know you invest.
You invest a lot more than me.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Me too.
Yeah.
And I've actually kind of taken off. I had, a couple kids.
Yeah. Congrats, man.
Great kids. Amazing kids.
Yeah.
How old are your kiddos now?
My son just turned 5 and I have a 3-year-old daughter is about to turn 4.
Well,
They're
son's
13
got
months apart.
Boy and a girl?
Boy and a girl.
Son's
American
got
dream.
American dream.
Good for you.
Son's got a cannon too.
Does he?
Son's got a cannon.
Yeah, he's
Football, baseball, both?
baseball, man.
Okay.
And it's funny because I'm a lefty and he's actually a lefty too, but he does, some things right-handed, but
Lefty with a cannon.
Dude,
Well, he's
dangerous.
throwing righty. He's throwing righty.
Okay.
But I bought him a baseball bat for his birthday and he's like naturally just switch hitting right now. And I'm like, trying not to get too excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, if
But
you
I am.
could,
He's already got
I'm like,
an
if you could be throwing it, he throws really accurate and has a good, like really good arm for a kid who just turned 5 and he's switch hitting. I'm like, all right,
That's cool.
this could be good. This could be good.
Get him on the NIL,
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Shit, man. Yeah.
Start socking away some money now.
Yeah.
Pay for college.
But yeah, so it's like, I always, another thing I would like preach to some of these agents is there's one thing about making money, but it's like, how do you earn wealth? Right.
Wealth, right.
And again, growing up in New York City, there was my great grandmother passed away. This is years ago. Multi-unit building in Brooklyn in Carroll Gardens that my parents could have bought for $250,000. That's like a $3 million property.
Right.
It's like
Right.
I saw what certain people that I knew, and shout out to Brian Rivera's grandfather.
Brian Rivera, what's
Shout
up,
out to
man?
B. Rivera.
Good times on Saturday.
Yeah.
He's still recovering.
Oh my.
So his grandfather was actually, not that he was like a direct mentor, but I kind of looked up to the guy. He was from Puerto Rico. He was an immigrant. Came to America, was working in a hardware store. The guy that owned the hardware store, he owned the building.
Yep.
One of those like stories where it's like, just take over the hardware store.
Some major chances.
Do you want the building? The guy ends up buying, 3-4 buildings on Montague Street, a couple other buildings, just an immigrant from Puerto Rico, and then amassed massive amounts of wealth. And it was like, that's what I want to do. So when I got to Philly, it was like so much more like opportunity, because like New York, dude,
Like no one's doing anything down here. What's wrong with people?
It's like,
Look at Point Breeze.
Yeah, I'm like, I can buy a
The
house.
missing teeth.
Yeah.
Look at these hockey guys.
I'm like, I could buy stuff for 30 G's down here. Like,
Yeah.
So it was just like, all right. Once I started doing the real estate, then it was like pick up a couple things, just a little bit here and there. I just want at least one a year, 1 or 2 a year, 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah. Low and slow.
Yeah. Low and slow, buy the right things so that, for me, I want to retire at 55. That's my goal. 55.
goal.
I'll still be working probably, but at least it's like
On your terms.
on my terms.
Mm.
So that's my goal.
And you're looking at one right now. You were telling me.
And I
daycare.
just put an offer in on something
Like
today.
right before we're starting this, Nick's like writing offers.
I'm like, can I get
That's
on?
how we do it.
You see his head
That's how
go
we
down.
do
He's
it.
texting. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I think the fact he's diversifying and stuff, also a great, mentor for me, seeing that he's doing it. So I love that. And it made me want to get into investing as well. Just got my first land development. So we bought the land, found a partner.
Point Breeze.
Yeah, Point Breeze.
Congratulations.
Right around the corner, but the land was more than his house. And I swear.
Yeah.
Very close, if not more. But so I'm that's my first one. How many do you have right now? Doors.
I'd have to
He's got a lot of doors.
Nah, that's not that much when you talk to like a little over 20.
Mhm.
That's phenomenal, man.
It's like it's not too bad.
Fantastic.
Yeah, his approach is just I want to take that approach, but it's so hard in this market to make sense of everything.
Right.
So we're doing one with we're gonna build it, sell it, and then 1031 into more land, build it, sell it, 1031 into more land,
Nice.
and try to accumulate wealth that way. So that way when we're done the 10 unit project in 10 years,
Yep.
we sell that one out, hopefully we'll have the snowball effect of all the 1031s and then get killed on the back end with taxes.
right.
But hey, at least we learned a lot. We
Yeah.
built connections, we built the city up, we protected our partners' investments, and we're obviously, I think at the end of the day, it's all about growth. We're having fun growing. So it's fun.
Yeah.
Dude, it's interesting. So it's like sometimes I make the correlation between like, you buy residential real estate, you buy a home, you're going to live in it. And you're like, most of the time people are committing to like, 7-10 years. If you're like just starting a family, let's say you're like, I'm going to be here for like 20 years minimum. I want my kids to be in the same school district, whatever it is, go off to college, have the house that they grew up in. Like that's kind of like the approach. So when people buy their homes, it's more emotional because they're like, look, I can see my life ahead of me. And if I just make this commitment, even if I overpay, I can stick with it long enough, the commitment to own the real estate and do well financially. When you invest in real estate, it is 100% about the buy, the acquisition.
1,000%.
If you overpay on the acquisition, chances are your risk of failure goes up dramatically. Now, can you get around it with like time and commitment? Of course you can. But when we work with investor clients, or when we do things ourselves, because I do development, if the numbers don't make sense up front, you just got to be like, I just can't do it. And people are like, well, what do you mean? You can't pay an extra 3%. You can't pay an extra 20 grand. And you're like, look, if I do that, then I make no money. So why am I buying this? And it's like, we flip homes. We usually do like 4 to 5 a year.
Yeah,
and flipping homes, it's the same thing. Like we're in this market right now where we compete against the first time home buyer that says, I'll live in a piece of crap and I'll just fix it up over the years. Like I wanted that ready to go rehabbed house that you bought, but it's too expensive, or like the rates are too high, or there's not enough of them, like whatever it is. So then we compete with the homeowners for these fixer-uppers, city or the suburbs. Suburbs is like even crazier.
Right, yeah.
And you can't overpay. We walk away from a couple deals a month. Like we make offers, we look at probably like a property once every week or 2 weeks, and we'll do 4, maybe 5 flips this year. Like think about that.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you are disciplined as an investor, like you're getting into this, you're like, hey, how do I make this work? it really is on the buy.
If
you
I'm
can do
doing
it
my
on the
numbers
buy.
right, so you're walking through 100 homes a year, roughly. You know, 2 homes a week, 50 weeks.
No, probably more like 1 a week. So yeah, probably 40 to 50.
And so you're only, and this is just a lesson for the viewers, like you're only going to pick up 5 to 10% of them. You're not picking up every deal you walk through. And I try to tell people that all the time, like, let's just go out and see stuff. You have no idea how educational it can be. And just, I feel bad, I'm wasting your time. Right. No, go out there and find some stuff. You know what I mean? Then I have a lot more fun doing it. But just for any investor out there, I think that's great that you said that.
Well, dude, it's funny. So last year, I think almost everything we did was off market because last year was pretty tight. This year, we're 50-50. I think we got 2 off and we got 2 on. But the 2 that were on, after we made our offer, they didn't work out until a few months later because they had time. I can't sell it, you know? And then they lower and they lower. And then they get to this point, like, you come up like 10 grand. We're like, we'll come up 5 grand.
Yeah.
And they're like, done. So it's like, that's like,
why you never burn bridges. You always try to keep the open line until you see it close.
Yep. It's like the underlying theme of this podcast, which we're talking about more regularly now, is relationships. Like being straight up with people. Even if I only do 1 deal with that home seller or that agent, it's like, you're just honest. Like, I can't buy it. You know, this isn't a game. This isn't cat and mouse. Like, we're not playing a game here. I can't buy it. And they're like, okay, well, we can't sell to you. That's fine. I need to move on, and so do you. And then if the minds change, if, you know, expectations or plans change, let me know. And we're right here. We're still the same deal. Right. And when you can do that, it's like you can find the success.
I think when you were talking earlier about the difference between a residential realtor and a commercial broker, it got me thinking, like, is it because the residential real estate person is going to be doing deals with those real estate people again, and the commercial people, like, I'm probably not going to see this person again. You know what I mean? In terms of coughing up a commission or wanting to double down on it. Is that like play into it at all, you think?
Yeah, I think in regards to you're saying like picking up the cooperating with other brokers. I guess it's just because that's how like the residential, you know, industry was set.
Formulated.
It was built to cooperate.
It was built to cooperate. Exactly. Right. And then it's on the, and I do think it's more because residential, I may sell a house to one buyer and they're buying, they move into the house and I'm not getting business from them for another 20 years when they call me up and say, hey, we want to sell the house. On the commercial side though, and that's why I always liked commercial.
You might buy another one next week.
It's this repetitive, and it's awesome because if it works the right way, it's a symbiotic relationship. Totally. I'm making money, you're making money. By me making money and getting you deals, you're making money and you're happy. So it's kind of like we're growing together. Yeah. You know?
Mm-hmm. It's a business transaction. We want more business transactions.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why on the commercial side, they feel like they don't have to. Yeah. Because I got this warehouse. Well, I sell it to whatever, Joe Schmo, who's bought 10 of them. Yeah. So I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I'm going to list it and then I'm going to sell it to this guy. And when Tim calls me, I'll just make pretend he doesn't have a buyer for it. Yeah. You know, exactly. Because I don't want to give Tim any money out of my pocket.
Like, why would I do that?
Yeah. Exactly.
He doesn't deserve it.
But I do think it's like at the end of the day, you're right. It's relationships and it's being like honest and transparent. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like that there's just so many scumbags in this world. Yeah. We get such a bad rap for being in that bucket of like, you know, car salesman and whatnot.
Not a lot of trust.
It's not a lot of trust. And if you could just like be honest with people, honest with your colleagues, you know what I mean? Be transparent. People respect that.
It's a
People
win-win.
like that. It's a win-win. And it's like, and if your clients aren't like that, not a fit for me. I like people that are straightforward. You know what I mean? Like you said, tell me if you don't like the deal. Right. You know, don't tell me you like the deal and then you're ghosting me. And then it's like, what's going on here?
And getting people all riled up.
Yeah. Or it's like, what do you want to sell it for? This is your number. And then the number, you know, it's like, but I think with any business, it's like that should be the backbone, man.
Dude, to your point, I think what I have found different with commercial, like I said, when you buy residential, it's a little bit more emotional. Like someone's buying a house for their family. It's like they're like seeing their life ahead of them. When you're selling a building to someone who like wants to convert it or build on the land or split it up or just rehab it, like whatever they're looking to do, it's all numbers. So therefore it becomes a little bit more black and white, a little bit more cutthroat. And commercial never really had the cooperation model. that residential had. They didn't have like the same structure, the same rules that we had. So I always call it the Wild West. Commercial's the Wild West, and residential's like private school. So it's just like, okay, what am I doing now? Like, when's
a good
lunch?
analogy.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's like real, like formal. It's real structured.
Yeah.
And the lawsuit made it seem like we were the biggest criminals on earth. But unfortunately, the lawsuit is about money to the attorneys who were making the case.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the people who actually got some money barely got anything. It might cover their next couple lattes. Like, give me a break.
Yeah,
That's
like,
what it's over. You want a couple extra cups of coffee?
Yeah.
So,
and they think that they're really like doing a service to the seller. You know what I mean? Because it was more to the buyer. I'm sorry.
Right.
Because they
buyer.
were saying,
exactly,
that they didn't know of like what they were paying. But at the end of the day, I think it was just
totally
a money grab.
Right.
Unfortunately.
All right. Here's a question, like from the investment sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the stuff that you would find and you would sell, or like you're representing clients, like, have you ever taken like an equity position? You're like, hey, I want to be a part of this deal. How do we work together? Has that ever come up?
It's funny because we've pitched that out. We've like brokered a couple joint venture deals and that sort of thing. We haven't. I personally haven't successfully done that yet. I've had some clients say, "Yeah, we would be open to that." I haven't done it. I would love to. I'm always open for that. But yeah, I have not.
Hasn't been a part of it. Yeah,
no, not yet.
Yeah, we've had a few conversations before prior to us like really getting into it. And what I found is that most investors would prefer not to do it because they're like, what are you really bringing to the table aside from the deal?
Yeah.
If you can offer more than the deal, it's like, well, I'm bringing the deal, but here's what I can do. Like, hey, I got a real estate license. I can help you out on the back end. And they're like, well, anyone can do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to find the right relationship where they're like, you know what? I want your boots on the ground, or I want your local expertise. I want you invested in this just like I am. Cause maybe they're from New York. Maybe they're from California or Texas.
Yeah. It's like, and then it's also like, who do you want to be? There's a lot of guys that I just want to sell the property to. They're great clients, but would I want to get in cahoots with them on the back end? Probably not, So there's definitely several that I would. But yeah, so if the opportunity came up, I would be 1,000% open to it, Well,
here's a good one. So, Mr. Mooney over here, he's Mr. Glass half empty. And I'm Mr. Glass half full.
Okay.
So I'm too nice, and he can be a little bit more critical. And we can say that because we've known each other for a long time. What's your outlook on Philly? So you're from New York, you move here, you live in the area, you invest in the city, you sell in the city. What's your outlook on Philly?
Yeah. So when I first got here, when I went to Temple, that's what brought me to Philadelphia. There was a lot of like comparing Philly to New York. I'm sorry, but you really can't compare New York to any city.
Apples and oranges.
Yeah. It's like,
apples and pineapples, probably.
Yeah. But now I've been here for 22 years, which is crazy to me for all those years. But
you want to put on one of these?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm
after last week, I would take that off.
yeah, seriously. But I've really grown to love Philly. It's a small city. It's a small big city. It's definitely dear to my heart. And what I really think is, what I always look at Philly, it's like I sometimes think that we are our own worst enemy.
We are, yeah.
It's
like Mr. Mooney over here. Glass half empty. We suck. The team sucks. The city sucks.
Last week,
the cheesesteak sucks.
Everything I think of perpetually comes true. So there must be some.
Might as well prep myself.
Manifesting it.
Yeah.
You're manifesting.
Might as well prep yourself.
Yeah.
It is.
No, Sirianni is
ever see The Secret?
manifesting my thoughts.
Ever see The
what's
Secret?
going on.
You're the reason why they lost on Monday.
Yeah, thanks,
Mooney's
dude.
fault.
Yeah. Thanks,
If
bro.
only he had thought better thoughts.
Clean up your mind.
Keep it on the ground.
Just kick the ball. Just kick the ball, Nick.
Right.
So it was like, you look at like the history of Philly, the census, populations being lost every 10 years. They put the 10-year tax abatement in. I think it was 1998.
Yep.
All of a sudden, the population starts rising. Great policy.
Right. Great policy.
Great policy. Get people in. All these people talking about with the tax abatements losing money for the city. There are whole neighborhoods. And they,
Point Breeze.
it's
You were
such
selling
short,
those lots.
yeah, it's like such short-sightedness
It is, yeah.
because it's like, do you understand that there's no taxes for 10 years? But then after the 10 years,
They're paying high taxes.
Yeah.
Their assessed value's high now.
yeah, you have all of Graduate Hospital, all of Fairmount,
Seriously.
and it's like you're planting the garden. Do you understand how it works? And and then of course we hit COVID. We were rolling.
Dude.
The city was on fire.
Totally.
Of course, we hit COVID, and then they mess with the 10-year tax abatement. Then interest rates go up. For people that don't know, the 10-year tax abatement in Philadelphia is now cut in half.
Yep.
So it's like, there's like a lot of headwinds, and then the regulation, the L&I. I can't tell you how many developers that were building a shit ton of product in Philadelphia are like, I want out. They don't respect it. Like they take it personally.
Yeah.
They don't want us. I'm going out to the burbs. Right. I could build a house in 4 months, 5 months.
I hate to tell you, the burbs are tight too.
Well, the burbs are tight, but like if you're building ground up,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
But from the people we've talked to, things are getting better in the back office for L&I, which is good.
Yeah.
But overall, my outlook to get to answer your question, with such an influx of multifamily buildings,
Yep.
I mean, we literally have 4 times the inventory that we have on a rolling 20 years
Right.
hitting the market than we've had.
Right.
But we're actually ranked top in the country for absorption of those units.
Right.
We're absorbing.
People are moving here.
Yeah, we're absorbing 2 times our trailing 20 years in those units.
Facts, yo.
Yeah, facts. So what I'm thinking is we are going to have this kind of like second level kind of commercial boom, because you're talking, I mean, in Northern Liberties alone, I think it's like 7,000 units are hitting.
I mean, look at this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Manioc Rocks, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
We're developing it right down the street.
There you go.
Ridge Avenue, all that.
It's crazy.
So what
A couple
happens?
thousand units have been built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what happens is all these people move in. Then it's like, where are they eating? Where are they going out to, to the bar? Where they want to go to venues?
The grocery store, the pharmacy, the gas station. It's everything.
So it's like you're gonna probably see a next level. All these units have to be absorbed. Everything's got to stabilize.
Right.
Obviously, multifamily buildings really tapered back. And once those stabilize and people understand what's going on, I think there's just going to be, I think Philly, as long as it doesn't get in its own way,
Right.
is going to be poised to be like, a great city.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already a great city. It's got great history. You look at the location, sure, in 50 minutes an
We're
hour.
having a pop culture moment right now. It's
Yeah.
like Casey is going to run for like president of the universe. It's like, I was watching the game there and I'm like, dude, could he be in one more commercial or one more pregame discussion?
Yeah.
He's like walking through the parking lot.
Did you
He's
say
on the
Casey? Rob
Kelsey.
Casey?
Yeah,
Kelsey. I'm sorry. Did I say Casey?
I thought
sorry
you
about
said
that.
Casey. I'm like,
It's my accent.
Kelsey.
So Kelsey is
I
like
opened up the
all over the
Walmart
place.
thing, and he was in there. I'm like,
What are you
what was
doing in
this?
here?
it was
I gotta
he
pay
was
more?
like his name on like a barbecue set or something. Like
He's hanging
everywhere.
out with Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg
Crossing
now.
Broad just
Well,
had a
listen.
thing. It was like a hot take. Like it was, are we overdosing on
Yes.
Kelsey? And I'm like, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Yeah.
Listen, if you could grow bricks and risk
Yeah.
to a certain
100
point,
million.
you could
Hey,
maybe
man,
get to
you know,
100
We gotta
million.
get him on now. He was like, "You're not even gonna sniff me for less than
Maybe
50K."
we could broker
Yeah.
that deal.
I would
Fun
love
fact.
to broker that deal. I'll read 2.5%.
Yes, please do.
Fun fact: the guy who shot their first episode was these guys.
Get out.
Get outta
New
here.
Heights.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
You know the
Dylan,
you know the
can you
Casey's?
fact check that?
It wasn't their first episode.
But Terry did it.
Yes.
One of their episodes.
Terry did it.
We,
What's up,
we,
Terry?
we directed one of their episodes.
Okay.
Okay. Still pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, give me.
Very cool.
All right, so give me your take, Martino.
Yeah.
What do you see for the city?
Yeah, I mean, really what Nick said, but I'll say this, and just to simplify it all for the viewers, is like, if you look at the cycle, of just real estate, every 10 to 15 years, we're going to go through these cycles, right? 08, 09, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and
Right.
we're right around
and
here right
valleys.
now. So that's what I'm seeing, but I'm also seeing a lot soften up now.
Yeah.
Calling a lot of commercial brokers, and they're like, yeah, the seller's ready to fucking make a move here.
Right.
It's great. So for me, these past like 6-7 months have been awesome because I'm working on my business a lot, but still trading, still able to find some right deals. And of course, I'm building my own project. I'm getting my property management company off the ground.
Awesome.
And to your point, if I'm going to ever acquire anything with a partner, that's my value is I know the city, I can manage this building. That's it. Right?
Yeah. Boots on the ground.
But to the point of the cycle and all that, it's just been like, now that we're getting right back into I'm like so excited.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this for 18 months. And it's all about being, big picture. I think we talked about that in our initial coffee meeting. It's always big picture.
Yep.
You can get so dialed in and focused on this past month, but it's like, look at the overall view, and it's helped me really kind of plan for what's about to come, which once again, it's coming. It's just a matter of time, that second boom of commercial.
I love how you guys have different takes on the outlook for Philly and the market.
What's your take?
My take.
We're all going down.
It's like we don't have enough weird shirts. We're out of them.
We'll never be out of
all.
shirts.
You did buy them all, I think. Yeah, it might have. Looked like Charlie Sheen.
I know. It's what it is. It's the Charlie Sheen.
Or Frank Costanza.
Two different takes, and I think that's going to really run well for you guys with your new podcast.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Do it.
Let's get into it. So
Segue.
talk about the name, the handle, and what you guys are going to be doing and talking about.
Dude, I'm excited to share this and appreciate the opportunity to bring this up. Real Talk with the Hunters. It's about entrepreneurship mindset and relationships like you guys have here. And we're just trying to understand people's journeys. And there's always commonalities. There's a common thread in the journeys. I think so far in the 10 episodes that we've shot, I'm excited for the viewers to see this, but it's just consistency. Yep. Truly, if you're consistent in what you do, it's not about how you came out in the first period or the first half. It's all about you're going to continue that in the second half of the game.
Yep.
Right now we're in that second half of the game. So point being is like motivation, obviously, hopefully that can be an aspect of it, but also just seeing these journeys and trying to get a how-to for the viewers and listeners. And my favorite part is connecting with our guests. We have some incredible guests from, #1 architects in the city, #1 attorneys in the world. We've had Miss Pennsylvania on 2023.
Sweet.
Yeah, like we just have this Rolodex and, relationships that we're just excited to share with everyone else. So if you're looking for, another podcast similar to Bricks and Wrists, where we're just very authentic and we're very open about what we're going through, challenges and wins, it's Real Talk with the Hunters. We're dropping our first episode on the 29th. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
Yeah. Nick, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. The conversations we're having are awesome. And, as an entrepreneur, and a lot of us know, it's like that first step.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to encourage people that are watching it to see what other people have gone through. Because there's always that kind of like, you have to have trust in yourself. You have to have the confidence. And that first step when you walk away from that salaried position, where you're spending a ton of money on work to get your business up and running. It's a little bit of encouragement, for the people that are looking or viewing it.
Well, I think for you guys, like your viewers, listeners, they're going to see it as like thinking about it. And then they hear these voices say, this is what I did. And they're like, oh, I can do that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It helps people to be like, well, if this guy, that's the same thing that I'm thinking. I should just do it. I got this idea, and hopefully, we can influence people to start businesses, because as we all know it's one of the most rewarding things.
It is. And being in commercial real estate, we can service them. Hey, you guys want to get this started? Let's find you a space. Let's get you started. And it's about co-creating opportunities for your people. Not I win, you lose. Right. It's like we're co-creating something special. And really selfishly, that's what I love most about what we do and why we have the podcast.
Yeah.
Selfishly.
Thing.
So here's a good podcast stat for you. And it was told to us on one of our interviews, one of our episodes.
Interesting. I love stats.
Only 1% of all the millions of podcasts that there are out there have 50 episodes or more. Wow. The other 99% have less than 50 episodes. Now, again, it's like a fairly broad stat. I've looked it up on Google and it says different things, but the guy who told us has the #1 insurance podcast in the country called The Insurance Guys. He was a friend of Sean's. He came on. He was phenomenal. They have over 1 million downloads. They've been doing it for like 5 years.
Really quick, talk about simple names, right?
Yeah.
The Insurance Guys.
Just keeping it simple.
Insurance Guys. What do you guys do?
Yeah.
We're insurance guys.
Yeah. Like we play football.
Yeah. But sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I thought that stat was great because it plays into your consistency. So we've been doing this now as this episode airs for close to a year. We started, I believe, in November.
Yeah.
We didn't drop our first episode until March.
Mm-hmm.
and we just released our 38th today.
On the road.
So we are 12 away from that
12
1%.
And you have them, tell me if I'm correct. You have them already ready to go?
They're
Those
already ready to
12?
go. We
Yeah.
haven't done 50 yet. We're
Yeah.
like, I think we're like 48 or somewhere around
That's
there.
awesome. So we're like
But it's-
49, 50.
Yeah.
That's
We're,
awesome.
we're arguing about
That's
what we
cool.
should do for the 50th.
The stat though,
I said shirts off and
Shirts
funnels, but
off.
he
I
didn't
was
like
going
it.
to say.
He didn't like it.
Tarp's optional
No.
for the 50.
He went like scorpion bowls and like Hawaiian shirts. I'm like, come on, dude.
Kelsey will be here for the 50th.
Casey.
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 But no, and the funny thing is, if you look around, like, because when the stat gets thrown out, it's like, really? And then you start to look around. So, like, you have podcasts that you're like, oh, check this podcast. I really like it.
Toast.
They're done. They do it for a year or two,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
done.
And some of them are just so good. It's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to maintain.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
To be consistent, you really have to like dedicate yourself to like, this is what we want to do. We're going to keep doing it, continue to do it. And I think
Like
that
our,
a lot of people get into
like our time blocking episode.
like our time blocking episode.
Time blocking.
But I think people get into it for the wrong reason, is to like, I'm going to do this. And they have this expectation, like, I'm going to beat 1 million downloads after like 30 episodes. And it's like,
Doesn't work that way.
that way.
Because they're chasing an outcome. They're
Yes.
chasing a result. They're
correct.
chasing something that doesn't
very,
matter.
Very well put.
I fucking love just being here. I don't want this to end right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this is fun as shit for me. The editing
and I
all
got a
that
lot
stuff.
more questions, so we can
Yeah.
take
I was
this
gonna
long.
say, take them. Take all the time in the world. But and we got guys like that who can just, take off the hard stuff. Not
Yeah.
how can I do this, but who can help me do this.
Yep.
So
Love
that's
it.
your point.
very good.
All right, so we asked some questions like when people book with us, and some of the questions we ask, one of them is, what do you love most about what you do? And you guys had said relationships,
Yeah.
which again,
1000%.
near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
Why was that the one thing that came up? I mean, you're hustling, you're making money, you're growing your family, like you're buying your house, you're buying land, like that's exciting.
Mhm.
Like why is relationships so important to you in what you do?
I just think that's how I was raised. It was
Yeah.
like, my family, friends, again, talking about Brian that, like
too funny.
all my friends from growing up were like brothers. So I always cherished relationships. And I
Right.
think it was one of those things that, just the business, like meeting other people. I love talking to other people
Yeah, me
and
too.
seeing what are your hobbies? What do
Yeah,
you
what are you
do?
into?
And cultural backgrounds. Again, growing up in New York City, like I was always interested. Oh, you're from India, or you're from like,
Right.
It's like, oh,
People
we
from
watch
all over the
cricket out
world.
here. It's like,
Yeah.
and I think that actually helped me with sales too, because I could jive with anybody.
Right.
Tell me you're from Jamaica. I'll
Right.
have something to talk to you about.
Right.
But that at the end of the day, I think it was just how I was raised, and I just love meeting people and shooting the shit and getting to know people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great.
So
How about
Yeah,
you,
I would say same as Nick. Just genuinely a curious person. Like genuinely. Like,
yeah,
why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Right.
Genuinely asking you. And also, like, to your point, like, we're investing, we're buying land, doing this. Can't do any of that without relationships, I don't think. Like,
Sure.
to get the land for the right number, you got to make sure you're friends with the right people, and you got to make sure you can get your build costs there. So making friends with everyone, I think the reason I like it is because it allows you to do more. The more relationships you have, you're like, wow, I've relationship capital.
Yep.
I have a manager. I have a floor guy. I have a whatever. And I love being a super connector of people. So if maybe two people that wouldn't have met, I could, like you said, be right in the middle of that and, really push two people's missions forward without I don't even want to cut of that. That's just,
Right.
that makes me feel great
Just
when
pay
I
it
know
forward.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Pay it
then they
forward.
will always, and this isn't why I do it, but they will always think of you. Always.
That's the
Yeah.
beauty of the podcast too, is I love the different voices. I love the different personalities and perspectives and
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
all the different things that we get to hear from just people that go about things differently.
yeah.
And I think that's just one of the benefits that we have with the show.
Remember we did one episode, I'm not going to name it, but after the episode was done, I was like, bro, that was a little polarizing. And you're like, we're going to meet different people.
Yeah.
Like not everyone's going to like look at this medium the same way. People are going to say what they want.
I
They're
don't
gonna-
want the uniform character to come. I don't want
Yes.
the person to fit a character then for us to have them come in. It's
Right.
like, I don't want that.
Yeah. It's not about us. It's about them.
Yeah.
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 Good point.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So another question, valuable tips for our listeners and washers. And you guys said you have to be around to be around.
I filled out this for him. Yeah, I filled this out. That's something he would have said.
That sounds very New York.
I'm gonna let him. Yeah, I'm gonna let him answer this one.
It's funny because when I talk to a lot of the young agents, it's like that's part of our business. You know what I mean? It's like you're not getting business because you got to be around to be around.
Right.
You got to call people. If I'm in my car, I'm talking to people, and it might not be tied to, are you buying this property? What's going on?
Just conversations.
Just conversations. I'm just thinking about you.
Yep.
Because again, a lot of my clients, I genuinely like them. I like them, and I like hanging out with them.
There wouldn't be clients if you didn't like them.
Correct. So it's like, what's going on? How's life? You know what I mean? And then of course it delves into business. So I'm looking for this.
Trying to help each other out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it for agents.
Top of mind.
Mm-hmm. You got to be around to be around.
I love it.
Yep.
Awesome. And then your quote is badass. It's, life's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, which I believe is Rocky.
I was about to say
it's how much you can take. And keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Oh, I love it.
So I had a speech freshman year, and they said,
You're like, I bloodied my eye up and I took my shirt off. That's what I did.
Public speaking 101. It was for credits.
Yeah, your boy punched you in the face.
Nah. I didn't get punched. But we had to pick a speech, and I'm like looking through, great speeches, and my dad's the biggest Rocky fan. And he, I called him up one night. I'm like, I'm looking through all these speeches. Nothing's good. He's like, watch Rocky 6. And I was like, shit. All right. And I watched it. Never heard that before. I'm in college at this point. I've never seen Rocky 6.
What is 6? Is that?
That's the newer one.
It's when his
That's
kid.
Balboa?
It's when his kid's like, that's who he's telling the quote to. So anyway, I think just to the point I mentioned earlier with consistency, Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn's 5.
That was 5.
And then they fought at the end.
Underneath the front.
If you haven't watched it, watch it.
Right.
And all the cops are just watching.
Right in Kensington.
I got my Mario Rocky. Exactly. But that was a quote that I actually I presented to my entire class. It stuck with me. I was actually going to get that tattooed on me at one point in my life because it's just,
why stop now? Go ahead.
It reminded me because
go to the tattoo shop.
I know tattoo people.
Let's go.
There's one right down the street.
Do a live feed. Let's bring this show.
Let's do it.
Let's get him over here. That's how we
bring him
spice
this
now. Podcast up.
I know a guy. But I remember reading that, and at the time I had such a big ego. I'm a freshman in college. I'm the shit. And things really weren't going my way my freshman year like I thought they were. We had expectations that weren't met. Hockey wise, I was going for sports. Anyway, that quote really stuck with me throughout my entire life. Just, dude, it's not going to go your way. Just get the fuck back up.
Right.
Just get up, keep moving forward. Simple.
I think it's great because if that's ever going to happen, it's going to happen being in business, being an entrepreneur, real estate and insurance. I mean, they're cutthroat businesses and we lose deals all the time. We lose clients, partnerships. There's all sorts of things that go wrong in business and in the industries we're in. But hey, you can either go crawl in a corner, as I said before, and wonder why, or you can dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and keep moving forward.
Get a cute dog for cheap now. They're real easy. The Amish farms up in Lancaster, $400 for a cutie named Gemma. But just to that point, it changed my relationship with pain. Pain is progress in my mind. So the harder I get hit, I'm almost like, fuck yeah, give me another one. You know what I mean? Give me another opportunity to learn something. So we can move on from that.
Funny background that Martino I like to always bring up is he played hockey and he was a good hockey player. So I'm
scrappy
told
sport right there.
Yeah. It is. So it's pretty funny. So, Martino's just starts on our team and he crushes a call and he's like, set the appointment or something. I'm like, do a chest bump.
He gets up
and he fucking rocked me. He caught my chin and I was like, whoa, kind of saw stars. And I'm like, dude, all right, I'm not bumping. You have too good of a form for that. We're fist bumping.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, you okay?
He just kind of was like,
2 months into the business,
sizing you up.
I've changed a lot since then. I've changed a lot.
Man.
If I book an appointment, I'm all right, on to the next. But at the time, it was like sex. It was like, dude, I just got laid.
Right.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, dude, you're gonna have to fail in order to succeed. If you think you can get away with not getting egg on your face, not falling, not getting knocked down, not failing, it's like, what are you really learning? You might as well be in corporate America where everything is fine. You wake up, you got a job,
and
you got all that security.
Majority of people, I think, do think that way.
Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough tough way to go.
You have to be able to get through the down times.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's in life too, because ultimately it's like, I hate to say it, God willing, my parents live forever, but you're going to go through deaths of your parents.
Exactly.
And it's like, if you can't handle the bad times, then, it's just something you got to be able to do, especially as an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Well, Before we shut it down, why don't you guys let our audience know, listeners and watchers, where they can kind of find out more about you and everything you got going on?
Yeah, you
You could hit us up on Instagram on Hunters Real Estate. Direct. I mean, what else? Email nick@rarityrealestate.com.
rarityre.com.
RE.com. Yeah.
I would say reach out to Tim and he'll connect us.
Yeah.
But Hunter's
Or actually,
commercial.
maybe put the link down in the.
Yeah,
we'll get something there.
There you
Hunter's
go.
commercials
I think
got
it is.
we got great content coming out, especially with the podcast and wealth and knowledge coming. So I think the Instagram page will be the best place, and you can find our emails and numbers right through there. So yeah,
Awesome.
Drop a
There you
DM.
go.
absolutely.
Cool. Well, that's all we have for this one, folks. So thank you for tuning in again to another episode of Bricks and Risk. See you soon. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Bricks and Risk. Our goal is that you walk away with 1 or 2 valuable nuggets, and we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us today. You can find all B&R episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.